Now, you may have heard me say before that I'm not the biggest fan of a firearm mounted flashlight. With that said, again, today we're going to be taking a look at the little Axeon MPL1 LED pistol light. So let's go. What's up, crew? It's Chris with CloverTac, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here on CloverTac, we talk about all things firearm related. So if you're into that sort of thing, jump down and smash that subscribe button below. While you're down there, if you want to stay up to date on all the new content, well, go ahead and click that notification bell as well. Now let's knock out the details of this little pistol light. We're talking about a white LED, 120 lumens. Something very important I need to mention on that here a little later on. It does operate off of a single AAA battery with a 30-minute runtime. I found that runtime to be pretty close to what it actually does. We'll talk a little more about the battery issue here in a second as well. Has a master on off, has a strobe as well as a slow flash mode. It's going to be water resistant. Weight's going to come in at about 2.4 ounces. And roughly dimensions are going to be 2.5 inches long by 1 inch high by 1 inch wide. Now we are going to get into some live fire testing with this flashlight mounted on some handguns in 22, 9mm, and 10mm. Be sure to stick around for that. First, we need to talk about a few things in reference to the features. The first is going to be that 120 lumen rating. A little while back, I would say maybe a couple of weeks ago or so, the Axeon website actually had the rating on this light listed at 300 lumens. And our good buddy Trey over at Ghost Tactical did a review. He was going by the specifications on the website. However, him and I got to talking, and I said, hey, the packaging says it's 120 lumens. So contacted Axeon. Of course, they've subsequently corrected, if I can say that word right, subsequently corrected the website to reflect that it actually is 120 lumens. And that 120 lumens I found is plenty sufficient to light up an area, 10, 15 yards in front of you fairly well. Again, I'm not a fan of firearm mounted flashlights, but I don't want anything super bright because that brightness could actually affect the user as well. Now, when it comes to the battery on this thing, again, uses a AAA battery. Says it's good for 30 minutes. I found that to be fairly accurate. And I'm not the biggest fan of a rechargeable flashlight. So, the capability to swap that light out, I do kind of like. I would advise that you use very good batteries, Energizer, Duracell, something along those lines in this thing. Also, this flashlight is going to ship with some little plastic inserts in the battery compartment. Make sure that you remove those before you try to use this flashlight. Otherwise, the battery is not going to make contact with the connectors inside, and you're going to think that something's wrong with the light. Now, one of the reasons I did want to do a live fire test with this flashlight mounted to some handguns today is an issue that I see people have pretty often. And what it is they'll fire that particular firearm and their light or their optic will go off. A lot of times that's a quick fix, and it actually has to do with the battery. The little prongs or connectors that touch the battery on the inside, a lot of times you can tweak those. They're kind of spring loaded, and you can kind of bend those a little bit. But we want to make sure that as far as the electronics in this flashlight, it can hold up, again, at least to the 22 caliber 9mm and 10mm rounds, and those respective handguns, of course. Now, before we get to live fire, let's talk about the modes a little bit. First of all, you do have a master on-off switch here, so remember that. As long as that master on-off is in the on position, you can use either side of these ambidextrous controls. Push it once for always on. It does not have a momentary feature. I wished it did. Push it twice, you're going to get the strobe mode. Push it 3 times, you're going to get the slow flash mode. Push it 4 times, and of course, it turns the flashlight off. So it cycles through those modes from on to strobe to slow flash to off. If you've got the flashlight on and you're thinking, well, it's kind of a pain to have to cycle through the modes to turn it off, just use your master switch. Flip that master switch, it's going to shut the light off. You can kind of keep from having to cycle through those modes in order to turn the flashlight off. Now with all of that bloviating out of the way, all of that boring stuff, let's get to some live fire, do some testing. As always, safety first. I've got my eyes on, gonna put my ear pro in, and we will get this party started. What do you say? I've got the flashlight on, gonna start out with the 22 here, put a few rounds down range. With this 22, I do not expect it to cause any problems. Let's go. Or slide lock back, light is still on. All right, cranking this thing up one notch here. Let's turn our flashlight on, put a few rounds downrange with this 9mm, and see what happens. Considerably more recoil than the 22. And the light, once again, still on, no problems there. So let's ramp it up and see what happens with the 10mm. Before we get to some shots downrange with the 10mm here, I'm just curious. You heard my opinion at the first of this video. Not a big fan of flashlights on firearms, but I would like to know your opinion. So hit me up down in the comments below and let me know. Now we've got the 10mm here. Let's turn the flashlight on, put a few down range. Let's see what she does. Three rounds from the 10mm. The flashlight is still on, so it doesn't appear that this particular MPL1 little flashlight from Axeon Optics is going to suffer from the recoil related battery problems that we see. Now you may have noticed a little bit of a trend here. The handguns that I have been using are all full-size large frame handguns. That's going to be one of the issues with the overall length anyway of this flashlight. It's probably not going to fit well on any subcompact models out there, and there may be quite a few even compact models of handguns that it doesn't fit. Fortunately for me, I'm a big lover of the full-size, larger frame handguns, and it works perfectly for all of those applications. So there you go, crew. Hopefully that gives you a little more information to go on when we're talking about the fairly budget-minded Axeon Optics MPL1 LED pistol flashlight. Again, if you have questions, whatever, hit me up in the comments below. I want to thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Until next time, don't forget to chain fire freedom.